Sup, it's your boy Corey B. So today, what I want to rap about for a bit, man, social media. As much as I utilize social media, as much as I love social media, and I do, because when you're trying to do business and you're trying to, build a brand and things like that, social media is so incredible. It's free. It's just a free platform. And of course, there's paid ads. You can do things on Instagram. You can do things on Facebook. There's things you can do that, are paid ads. But ultimately, you can get free ads. You can do so much free promoting and so much free building network and stuff like that. And then you can pay for things to kind of boost things a little bit. It's incredible. And I've known so many people who utilized the paid Facebook ads, and the amount they paid for an ad based, in regard to the return they got is incredible, because the reach is so huge. The reach is huge. With all that being said, as much as I enjoy social media and as much as I see the incredible potential for it as a tool, and there's this balance, okay? We did this study. We did an international study topic back when I was in college, when I was at ACC in Austin, and we went, and I was in Phi Theta Kappa. We had an international study topic. Every 2 years, we had an international study topic that they changed, and internationally, the different chapters around the world would study this, and they would contribute their research at the international convention and be judged based on the merit of their findings, in their research study topic. Okay, so this 1 year, and it was incredible because it was just at the perfect timing for me, because I got to be there for the entire the entire duration, the whole 2 years. I was actually there from start to finish. I had been there for the end of the one before and the beginning of the next. It was so incredible to be a part of this 2 year span, because of all the topics, this one was relevant to me. I think it's relevant to everybody, but to me, I found it profoundly valid and important. It was, the honor study topic was the paradox of affluence. Power, peril, and promise. So the paradox of affluence. Okay, paradox of affluence was great. We literally talked about the concept of having smartphones and having Wikipedia. Wikipedia, for those, it's sad how many people don't know this, but Wikipedia is something it's out there. They take donations at this point to keep it running, but ultimately it is out there, and anybody can go on there. I can go on there and make updates to it. Now, my updates can be flagged and refuted by other people once they see it. But, the reality is that you can go on there, anybody can get on there and update some information, update a particular topic, a particular person, a particular event, anything. It doesn't matter. You get on there and update information. And if nobody flags it for a minute, then in the meantime, if you updated false information, all kinds of people are getting on there and they're Google searching, and they're like, oh, I need to know a quick reference about this, that, or whatever. Now, anybody who's doing real research or real references knows that Wikipedia is not a valid source. But anybody who's looking for just a quick information, because they're having a dialogue with somebody, they're having a conversation, and they're like, hey man, I need a quick answer to something. Wikipedia is an incredible source for fast, but reliability, But what the thing is this was over 10 years ago when we were doing our study topic. It's grown since then. Now, Wikipedia is no longer the problem, because Wikipedia is, first of all, so many people kind of almost laugh at the idea of what Wikipedia is. Secondly, not only do people kind of laugh at the idea of what Wikipedia is, but, they shouldn't. It is what it is. If you understand what it is, it's a useful tool. But the problem is now it's not just Wikipedia. Now it's everything. Because the reality is, when it comes down to it, anybody and everybody with just a little bit of web knowledge, just a little bit, and it truly, honestly takes so little, can build a website, can build a web page. There's so many tools now. Just straight up, just get on to Google and say you want to build a website. GoDaddy. I mean, there's so many platforms out there that will help you build a website you build it. And then once you build it, you can ultimately add any kind of content that you want. You can add essays, papers, stuff that looks like news articles. You can do all kinds of stuff like this. And at the end of the day, how valid is any of it? Well, the truth is, it's all based on its source. But are you a credible source? Are you? Well, if you're going to get on there and you're going to post stuff, you're going to sit there and, oh, well, I know this and I know that. I've had multiple websites over the years, mostly, business related, things like that. I've had many. I've also had, I've been featured on so many different platforms because of business I was doing or because of school projects, things like that, organizations I was partnered with, things like that. That, I've been all over the place, and it's great. It's cool. It's, like I said, the ability to have that access and to be able to build, and that idea, that concept of free speech and free press. Okay, the ability to put just information out there is incredible. But the paradox is that if you're someone who doesn't know and you're seeking that information, then you got to tread so much lightly with your caution, to where you're getting your sources from, where you're basing, how you're getting this information. So you're like, okay, well, I found this website. Okay, good. Found a website. What does that mean? Is that website valid? Does that website tell you anything? Is the person who built said website? And most people, see, this is something I've talked about for years after having gone through extensive classes in school to understand how to do valid research and things like that. And then even taking things a step further, when I actually worked in a research lab, I learned how to truly validate a source. And I think in our day and age, that should be something that's more focused on than it is. I remember being in grade school. I was in fifth grade. I was in fifth grade, and I remember doing research projects. And we did research projects, and when we did those research projects, I remember them teaching us how to do card catalogs and, make sure that, okay, well, these are actually valid resources. This is the idea of a nonfiction book opposed to a fiction book, opposed to, periodicals versus research, like the idea of getting something from a newspaper opposed to getting from an encyclopedia, things like that. We did all that in like fifth grade, but now the world is so much bigger, so much different. There's so many different sources out there. Now it's like, it's not as simple as, oh, was it from a newspaper, or was it from an encyclopedia? Was it from a nonfiction or a fiction book? Was it, it's like, now there's so much more muck, because anybody can do anything, and anybody can make anything look like a valid source. So it's just a matter of whether it is or not. And now, okay, so things have even gotten a step further. I've kind of gotten off on a little bit of a tangent talking about all these research sources, but the reality is, where I started was social media. Well, we'll get back to social media. Now, people are actually taking social media as credible sources. When the hell did that become real? When did we start, like, validating social media? Of course, the people who know me, I want them to trust me. If I'm not going to post something that, I don't know to be a true statement. But not everybody's got that kind of integrity. Not that people got that kind of honesty. And some people unintentionally, I do it. I'm self-aware enough to know that I have a bias. We all have a bias. People always want to say, oh, well, this person's putting out their narrative. It's all a narrative. It's all everyone's narrative. It's all everyone's perspective. You have a fight go down at school. I remember being in junior high and high school, and there was a fight in the cafeteria. You ask 30 kids who swung first. You won't get 30 different answers. Okay, maybe not 30. But the fight was between, Susan and Betty, and somehow you're going to have at least two people that say Christy threw the first swing. Christy wasn't even in the fight. It's like, things get convoluted, man. And some people, honestly, are just out there stirring up drama, putting out false information. Some people are completely 100% intentionally putting out false information. That's why you got to check your credibility, man. You got to know where you're getting your information from. But at the same time, some people are literally just putting their perspective out there. That's what they believe they saw. Sometimes they've tricked themselves. Sometimes they just not certain, and they think that's how it went down. So they think that's how it went down. So that's how they're gonna spin it to everybody. And sometimes people just add their perspective. I'm telling you, because I'm self-aware. Most people aren't. It took me a long time, and that's not saying I'm better than anybody else. That's just saying it's a reality. I'm aware that it's a problem that we all face. Most people want to believe that they don't face that problem. Most people want to believe that their opinions, that the words they speak are 100% pure, sincere, unwavered by anything or everything that could possibly come around. But this is unrealistic. We're human. Our emotions get involved. Our brain gets involved. Our brain's going to skew what we saw, what we heard. We're going to hear a story. Game of telephone back in the day. You get 20 people on a line, you whisper in each other's ear. By the end of it, you're talking about a completely different subject. You're not even in the same ballpark anymore. Were they lying? No, hell no, they weren't lying. They weren't lying. Nobody was lying. Everybody wanted to win the game. They were playing. They were on it. They were trying. Social experiment right there, man. I ain't done telephone in a minute. I ain't done telephone since I was in college. I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to do a video where we do telephone. I'm going to get some people. We're going to do telephone. Let's do that. Okay. So that's an idea for later. Y'all stay tuned and wait for that. I'm going to make sure that happens. Okay, but in the meantime, those people playing telephone weren't lying. They were trying to win. They wanted to win. At the end of the day, I remember doing it in college, and we had 20 people on this side of the room, 20 people on that side of the room, and ultimately you would get a prize or a reward if your team was the closest. You wanted that prize, man. You didn't want to mess up. But at the end of the day, you was only allowed to say it once. You whispered it one time, they heard what they heard, and they went on. Man, sometimes your ears play tricks on you. Sometimes your eyes play tricks on you. Sometimes what you hear and what you see, then your mind starts playing with you. Your mind allows your emotions to get involved and start skewing your judgment. Well, I bet you they did it because of, I know their political affiliation. I know their faith. I know the things they've done in the past. And all of a sudden it skews your judgment. You think that what they've done in the past, how you know who they are, you know the mistakes that they made, all of a sudden you think that has something to do with it. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't, though. But you didn't bother to get that information. You just made a call. You made a judgment. And it was subconsciously, and that's instinctual. That is it's psychological self-defense. What it is the ability to be able to protect yourself and preserve your own self-interest. So you see something that you see as potentially harmful or challenging to your own spirit, your own self, your own inner thoughts, and so you protect that. You can't help it. You can't help it. And the reality is that none of us can. And that's why I know I'm self-aware enough. I know that I have that problem. I know that we all do. And so sometimes I tell myself, I'm like, man, did this happen? I think it might, because maybe not. But how often do you question? How often do we see social media and we roll with it? How often do we see things happening and we just roll? How often do we just take things for face value and just roll? We do it. We all do it. And see, the fact that we all do it, that's the thing, is we all do it. And then the problem with social media is what you do is you roll with it and then you post it. See now what you done is you took in something that was emotionally driven. It was based on your thoughts, based on your skewed perception. You put it out there for the world to see. Then once you put it out there, now we're feeding off of people's likes. We're feeding off of people's validation. They're supporting what we think. They're supporting what we believe. They're agreeing with us. And then once they've agreed with us, now they've solidified that in our minds. So in our minds, they've solidified it as real and valid. So now because they've solidified it in ourselves, now we're like, oh yeah, I knew what I was, I knew I was onto something. Okay. So now, the further problem with that is once someone brings something to your attention, they says, hey, I'm not going to put you on blast. I'm not going to put it out there on social media. I'm going to talk to you about it. So they come to you and they say, let's talk about this. This is what I noticed. You put this out there. You said this thing. And I feel a type of way about it because I know you to be a smart person. I know you to be, I know you to be of sound mind. I know you to be, you're my cousin, you're my brother, you're my homeboy, you're my, sister, whatever. I know you. And so because you said these things, let's rap about it. Let's talk about it. And see, then what you have is you have cognitive dissonance. Because yeah, you do. Oh, yes, more psychology. Okay, so somebody's going to bring to your attention that what you've said may not be real. And so the more they bring that to your attention, the more that you refuse to accept it, the more you battle. And the more that inside you further solidify that you got to stand on your own ground, like your own pride gets in the way. Because you can't let that go, otherwise you've stepped in your own foot. Yeah. So like I said, then when you get into this situation of cognitive dissonance, and cognitive dissonance, a perfect example that I remember learning back in my early days was the idea that like you're playing in your dad's den, right? And he tells you don't touch his special prized baseball that's up on the shelf. And when he walks out of the room, rather than getting it, you tell yourself, well, I never wanted to touch that stupid ball in the first place. It was stupid. I never wanted to touch it. Even though you wanted to touch that baseball, but you tell yourself, it's a stupid ball. Because that absolves this inner conflict to fight against. It's like you convince yourself something. Okay, so we do this on a daily basis. We do this all the time. We absolve ourselves of this dissonance by convincing ourselves, telling ourselves that we feel a certain way when ultimately it's contrary to our natural instincts. Okay, so we like I said, taking all these different elements, this is where I say this is a huge, like I said, back in the day when we were studying this, the paradox of affluence, with the idea of having smartphones and endless information at our fingertips, and how do you have the ability to learn and know so much right at the tip of your fingers, but you also have to weed through so much more nonsense. Back in, when I was growing up in school, grade school and stuff, and junior high, you had to go to a library to get all this information. And when you went to the library, ultimately as a challenge, you had to go there. You had to, find the books. You had to, search in the card catalogs to find the books that you wanted and find the topics that you needed. Maybe even talk to the librarian, figure all these different things out. But then when you got the books in your hands, you knew they were credible. Or at least back then we assumed they were, right? Of course, we've learned over time that even some of those books weren't as credible as we initially thought. But it was our only resources back then. Now we have this ability to have all these resources right at the tip of our fingers. How valid are the things that we have at the tip of our fingers? We got to weed through so much nonsense and so much muck that getting valid information is so much harder. And like I said, now we're in even worse. Now we're even worse because now we're at the point that with social media, we're such a fast-paced, like instant gratification driven society and people that ultimately, and you know, myself is included, I'm in there with, I'm not pointing a finger at anybody. I'm saying this is all of us. We all want answers. We all want answers. We want information. We want to be able to do things, and we want to just be able to look it up and have those answers right there for us. But the thing is now we get on social media. We follow little groups on Facebook. We follow little platforms on Instagram, Twitter, different, you know, oh gosh, there's countless and endless different social media platforms now. But we follow different forums and stuff, and we follow blogs. We follow video blogs, YouTube, and we follow podcasts. We follow all these different things because we're like, okay, look, you're going to do the research for me, and you're going to just come back and tell me. But the problem that we get into is that now we're passing that responsibility for validity onto someone else. So how much are you trusting these other sources? How much are you trusting these other people before you actually follow up on their credentials, before you know who they are, before you know where it is they get their resources from, where they get their information? Are they just making it up? Is there just their opinion? Is it how they feel about things? Because I'll tell you right now, 100%, if you followed me for long enough, and I hope whoever's watching this, I hope you're following me. If you're not, click that subscribe now and ding the bell, get your notifications. Stay tuned, I got more. But if you've been following me for more than a minute, you know there's certain things that I vibe on. There's certain things that I lean towards. I'm a Christian capitalist. I'm very driven by my faith, but I'm also a capitalist. I firmly believe in people's ability to make money, build their business, the American dream, like grow and build, and we can reinvent, create. Like, the possibilities are truly, truly endless. I'm a firm believer of these things. If you've been following me, you know this. And if you haven't, like I said, stay tuned, because I'm gonna keep laying it down. There's these things, these aspects that my belief in human ability and human nature and the limitations that we put on ourselves that we can choose to overcome. This all comes out in so many different things that I post. I may be talking about one thing and other things are going to come in. You know, God's going to influence so many things of the things I post. Just, you know, God's a huge part of who I am. You know, my boys, a huge part of who I am. My wonderful wife, my family, huge. It's who I am. So these things are going to be with me. These things are going to influence all the things I post. My business influences what I post about. I believe you can build your business. You can do all these great things, you know. So it's like you can't say that, oh, somebody built something, somebody posted something, and they completely absolved themselves of their own influence and their own feelings and their own biasness. You can say it's somebody's narrative. You can say it's somebody's bias. You can say it's somebody's skewed perspective. It's all the same thing. It's just different words. You're getting semantics, and ultimately it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Truly doesn't. Like I said, it comes down to it. This paradox of affluence that we discussed and researched on all these years ago. It's been like a decade now since we researched this and discussed it on an international level with so many amazing people, many of which were far more brilliant than myself. But I was so proud to be a part of it. That paradox is alive and well today, and it's bigger than it's ever been, because Facebook and Netflix, oh God, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and every other social media blurb and podcast and, you know, Patreon and Spotify and wherever it is you get your sources now, there's so much more out there now. There's so much more out there. YouTube. So Oh, excuse me. So now you have this paradox of information coming even faster and coming from all different sources. You've got teenagers posting their opinions as if they know something. And it's not that they don't, but their life experience definitely skews their perspective. Doesn't mean they're not valid. Doesn't mean they're not knowledgeable. Doesn't mean, then you've got older people of older generations who, how in touch are they with things that are happening in modern society right now? Then you've got people in different class systems, economic levels, different businesses, celebrities, people that are not celebrities, people that are, and it's like you've got these people all posting their opinions and their thoughts and their content. And then it's like, okay, well, are these people really valid? Do these people come from my perspective? Do they know what I'm going through? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. And you can try all you can to get your sources and your information from all different perspectives. And I commend all of you who try. It's hard because there's so much else flooding the airwaves now. So that's an endless battle when it's just flooding the airwaves, literally. Can't possibly get everything. Can't possibly hear everything. Can't possibly read, listen. None of it. It's too much. I mean, I'm posting content constantly. And I'm hoping that y'all are paying attention. I'm hoping y'all listen. But at the end of the day, if y'all are listening to me, then you're missing somebody else. So, it is what it is. This paradox of affluence. With great knowledge comes great responsibility. Responsibility to validate said knowledge. With responsibility to actually verify what you're researching, what you're getting into. Verify and validate the people that you're trusting to give you information. It's a huge burden for anybody to carry. So ultimately, I think my big point in all of this is maybe you shouldn't take it so seriously. Yeah, obviously your passions, your beliefs, they should be serious. But when you look at someone else's beliefs or passions or drives or just the idle comments that they make, even if they do so online, even if they do so on a forum, even if they've taken time to TikTok it or Instagram it or tweet it or whatever, maybe it's just them venting. Maybe it's just a passing thought. Maybe it's not as serious as you want to make it. And that goes for everybody. Whether it's your friend, your cousin, or a politician that you thought you liked, but then they said something, that rubbed you the wrong way. Or someone you thought you despised. And they said something that made you question it. Like I said, maybe we should stop throwing stones for a minute and just not take all of it so damn serious. Paradox of affluence, man. Social media can be one of your most beneficial and incredible tools, but it can be the downfall and the barrier that just divides us all. Use it as a tool. Let's lift each other up. Let's stop using it as an opportunity to divide, suppress, or oppress yourself or others. All right, I'm your boy Corey B. Y'all stay tuned. I got more coming at you.